Hey guys, Sean C. Phillips here with my review of Warm Bodies. Just got back from seeing the 10 p.m. show of the movie. Really did think this was a pretty cool one though. The movie's basically about, it opens with a zombie, and the movie's basically about a girl that meets this zombie, and it's told, the zombies in the beginning are pretty much just, mindless. They're kind of walking around like typical, George Romero zombies, not, the fast zombies. There's the zombies, and it's all kind of in the one guy's head, him thinking, oh, I wish I could remember who I was. I wish I could interact with my friend, who's, played by Rob Corddry in the movie, and, just kind of wondering about what his past life was. There's also these group of these zombies that where, when the zombies kind of have given up, they become kind of just bones and skeletons, and those are the worst group. And the movie goes to a kind of a walled off area where all the humans live, and it's kind of like Land of the Dead where they kind of walled off the whole area. They also did that, I think, in Doomsday, where it's just sort of like walled off, and the group of people go out to try and get supplies because they're walled off in their own kind of area, but they've run low on supplies, so they occasionally have to go out and get more stuff, food and things like that. The whole compound is run by John Malkovich. John Malkovich's daughter goes out with this group to get more supplies, and they end up getting ambushed by the zombies. And the one guy, ends up seeing the girl, John Malkovich's daughter, and immediately has this feeling for her, and something happens when he sees her. It just sort of has a jolt. And the movie is basically about all the people she's with end up getting killed, and he ends up taking her back to the airport where he lives, the zombie character. And he lives in a old airplane, so he has music in there, and he basically finds things and brings them back. So the movie's about him kind of starting to get feelings for her, and it's pretty much like a character piece about this love between him and if she starts to like him or not. I'm not going to get into all that, and then the basically him meeting her kind of starts some big thing, and you see that in the trailer as well. I enjoyed it. It's not a whole lot of tons and tons of action-packed things and lots of things happening. But it kind of reminded me the look of Zombieland, the zombies. But they also had a look of the classic, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead kind of, white paint, kind of grayish zombies. They weren't especially rotten. And I guess it was because it was PG-13 too. They didn't make them really gross. The only ones that were kind of the ones that were sort of the grosser ones really weren't even really that gross. They were the bone kind of characters, which is where, when the zombies have just given up any hope and they really can't think anymore and even have the inner thoughts of their head or anything like that. But the movie, like I said, is basically just him getting with this girl and them having kind of a friendship, and then things start to change with him. And I don't know, I really liked the setting. I thought it had a great, backdrop to this movie. I thought they had some really cool music in this. And it's just really just a kind of a love story. Some people are kind of comparing it to Twilight, and it's not really like Twilight. I feel like the whole vibe to this movie is a little bit more, not really silly, but a little bit more you don't take it as seriously. With Twilight, they kind of want you to take those movies way more seriously. I don't really care for those too much. I only ever watched the first one. This movie, like I said, has more of a vibe of Zombieland kind of humor. But like I said, it is PG-13. I do wonder if when it comes to DVD, if there may be a little bit more of an unrated cut. I have a kind of a feeling that there may be just a little bit dirtier version, just with some of the language and things like that. But I really did enjoy this one. It was a totally different take on zombies, and they also did one thing in this which has never been done before. You find this out very early on, that the zombies, when they eat people's brains, basically that's the only way they can. The zombies can't dream, so when they eat the brains, they end up kind of taking the memories from the person they eat. So that was kind of a different concept, which I don't think any movie has ever done. They've, in the movies, zombies are always eating brains, and things like Return of the Living Dead, they're like, why do you eat people? And she's like, oh, the pain of being dead. Well, this kind of explains it differently. about, about the dreams, and you take their memories, and I thought that was a very cool aspect. I really did like this one. It was a very funny, not really totally funny, but there's some funny parts, but a very, I thought, pretty well done love story with a girl falling in love with a zombie, and I actually thought it was pretty good. Out of 5 stars, I'd probably say 4 stars. I would definitely say it's recommended. I really feel myself liking this one a lot. And like I said, it's a very different take on zombie movies. So anyway, though, thanks a lot for watching, for subscribing, and I'll see you guys later.